Good afternoon. We'll get started in a couple of minutes. One of the things I do want to share, now that I know we're recording for the general public, we still have a couple of members that we won't go into our full agenda until we get quorum. However, we do have a number of folks here to speak at public comment as well as to present before this body. And so we may take on that portion of the agenda, but we won't be able to move into the full agenda until we get quorum. So just give us a couple more minutes and we'll get started, but wanted to give y'all that awareness. All right. So I'm Councilmember Jason Dozier. I'm the chair of the Community Development and Human Services Committee. As I stated about 3 minutes ago, we still don't have quorum. We're working on that. We have a couple of council members who are on the way. However, there are some things we can do without quorum, and that is public comment and presentations. And so what I would like to do is, I know for our public speakers, I know the full body is not here. However, just a reminder, you are recorded and we'll get your comment. So don't let that deter you. So I'm not going to motion to call, well, I'm going to call the meeting to order, but we can't really take care of any business, but we can at least start with the public comment. So I'd like to go ahead and do that. And then just a reminder for our public commenters, you have 3 minutes. I will gently whisper into the microphone and let you know you have 30 seconds. But I want to give you all an opportunity to address the body. And just a reminder, you will be recorded. So even though we're all not here as of yet, we will still receive your remarks. And we can go ahead and get that going. So if we can pull up that list so we can start bringing people to the podium. All right, the first speaker is Ms. Martin McLeod. Good to see you. I'm wonderful.
How important rent control is, because we need this and we need to put it on the ballot. But there's other things I want to talk also. I take MARTA, and everybody see this shirt. Yes, we need this. I had a 4-year-old. And she said, I like your shirt. I said, really, you like my shirt? She said, yes. Because the mother's in the shelter. They're looking for places. And there's not enough money. The rent is still going up as we speak today. They cannot afford the rent. What they're doing also, 3 times deposit. But what happened, 3 times the rent. They could put the money on deposit, but they can't not get approved for the house because they got to make 3 times the rent. I'm not going away. I'm staying here. We need rent control on the ballot for the city of Atlanta. Because I told you, take this shirt and wear this shirt and take MARTA. and walk. Go in your community, and they'll tell you over and over, this is what we need. This is the solution. You don't have enough low-income housing. We know that. That's what I'm asking, pleasing you, please. And another way, we got June 10th. No one, City Council, please. You got people all over the world going to be here this Saturday. And the Year of the Youth, you're going to have a lot of youth here. The mayor, please, they ask you, they want you to be in the parade. You're going to have people all over the world here. So let's show up and let's support June 10th. That's all I'm asking you. And here we go. I need rent control on the ballot. That's not too much to ask, is it? Have a blessed day.
Thank you, Ms. McLeod. Before we move to the next speaker, I do want to acknowledge, because we're a little discombobulated with the agenda, but I do want to acknowledge we are here with fellow committee member Jason Winston, Councilmember Jason Winston, and also am here with City Council President Doug Shipman. Our next speaker is Prophet Curtis Martin Hairston, who I don't see. If he comes in before we're done with public comment, we'll give him an opportunity to speak. But next speaker is Henry Jordan.
Giving down to the Spirit of God to everyone that's here. Them that sin rebuke before all, that others also may fear. 1 Timothy 5th chapter 28th verse. Them that sin refers to elders guilty of persistent, flagrant sin, and against whom an accusation has been proven. Verses 19. James Griff has been with so many women, so I can't marry him because my body will become filthy, the Lord told me. Give us help from trouble, for vain is the help of man. Psalms 108 and 12th verse. The resulting work is a psalm of victory that only briefly alludes to the nation's lament, namely their ever-present enemies. Verses 12 and 13. The Lord said, why do you seek to trouble me when I seek to help you? By honor, dishonor, by evil report and good report, as deceivers and yet true. 2 Corinthians 6, chapter 8 verse. In verses 4 and 5, his thoughts are on his trials. In verses 6 and 7, divine provision. And verses 8 through 10, on his reluctant victory over circumstances. We go through trials to make us trust in Jesus. I don't control Christ's gift, and I need him to control me because I am self-destructive without obeying the Lord. Yet if thou warn the wicked and he turn not from his wickedness, nor from his wicked way, he shall die in his iniquity. But thou hast delivered thy soul, Ezekiel 3rd chapter 19 verse. Timothy is to keep constant watch, take heed over both his own spiritual life, thyself, and what he teaches others, doctrine. Jesus created the income for the word to live in us, to strengthen us, to stop the enemy from fighting against his protection plan God has assigned to me for you. And you also have a protection plan that you promise to work in justice. God honors righteousness. He honors justice. That's what he promised in his word, to love thy neighbor as thyself. Because of his word, we have life. We can't give ourselves life without the word of God. That's what I must stand on, the word of God, because he don't believe in lying. He believes in telling us the truth, to give us what we need, and we need Jesus. We need the power to obey Jesus.
Thank you, Ms. Jordan. Our next speaker is Sherry or Sheree. All right, not seeing them. Prophet Curtis Hairston, make another call. All right, well, that concludes public comment. That takes us to the next part of the currently unapproved agenda is presentations. Our first presenter, Commissioner Justin Cutler with the Department of Parks and Recreation. Good to see you, Commissioner.
Good to see you, Chair Dozier, Councilmember Winston, Councilmember President Doug Shipman. Great. Well, thank you, everybody, for having me for our quarterly presentation for the Department of Parks and Recreation. And on behalf of the men and women of the department, we're really excited to be able to present this work and just celebrate the accomplishments over the last quarter, as well as provide updates on the summer already underway and plans for our future. As part of the mayor's 4 pillars, a city of opportunity for all, one safe city, a city built for the future, and effective and ethical government, we'll review those items today and within the context of our presentation. And first, start with a city of opportunity for all. These are just some of the things that we're working on over this next year in order to improve parks and recreation services. One thing that I'd like to note specifically is extended hours at recreation centers. Already we're offering Saturday hours at William Walker, C.T. Martin, Rose L. Fan, and Martin Luther King Recreation Center. And our hope is that beginning this fall, we'll be able to offer additional hours on Sunday as well. We recognize that oftentimes families aren't able to come Monday through Friday, so we want to make sure that at least 4 of our recreation centers are open on Saturdays and Sundays. We're also enhancing our partnerships with nonprofits and also working to activate our parks, which I'll talk about later, and also improving acquisition. Currently, 77% of our residents are within a 10-minute walk. As we think about One Safe City, this is top of mind, I know, for a lot of people in the audience as we think about gun violence in our community, and also 2 incidents that happened recently, one yesterday at Piedmont Park and over the weekend at Washington Park. And to that end, we've worked really hard with APD to improve park safety. As you all know, gun violence or homicides are down 30%, according to this time last year, so we are making progress there. And specifically in our parks, we have 1 park ranger that's patrolling over 400 parks on our behalf, and we work hand in hand with APD as well as private security, which we have in some of our parks where we have hot spots in order to address specific issues. We're also working on park activation, so providing pro-social opportunities for people to connect with each other, build neighbors, build community. And through the Moving Atlanta Forward bond measure, we're also installing cameras. We have about $4 million dedicated to security cameras, and with the proposed additional millage, there'll be an additional $1.5 million dedicated to security and park security. We're also working with Georgia Power on lighting to make sure that lights are available in our parks. In addition to that, a city built for the future includes an asset management system that helps us to track life cycle costs. Recently, we worked with the Department of Enterprise and Asset Management, and we found that we have over $58 million in maintenance that's needed in our recreation facilities and in many of our park maintenance buildings. And so we'll be working to address that over the next 5 years. In addition to that, we have 71 projects identified in the Moving Atlanta Forward bond measure to help address some of these deficiencies. And right now we're kind of cross-tabulating those 2 lists to identify how much we'll be able to knock down with the Moving Atlanta Forward bond measure, as well as additional resources that will be available this next fiscal year. Also, as we think about effective and ethical government, one of the biggest priorities is to make sure that we're connecting with our community where community's at. And to that end, we've partnered with you, Councilmember Dozier, Councilmember Winston, and many others in order to host community activities, go to where people are at, connect with people in their community, in their neighborhood, to hear what the feedback that we need to hear, as well as to make modifications and updates to our programs to make sure that we're being responsive and effective and ethical. So we're working really hard also on communication protocols and providing each of you updates as different cases that you submit on behalf of your neighbors, so that you can be responsive to your neighbors in your community. As we think about the mayor's priorities related to Year of the Youth, these are some areas that we're working hard to affect and provide a safe city for our children, which ultimately leads to Atlanta being the best place to raise a child in America. And so we have our STEM program that we're working on. We have our Camp Best Friend Lifeguard Youth Employment Program. We recently launched an esports location at Bessie Brenham Community Center in East Atlanta, and we're looking at additional sites at Thomasville, Rose L. Fan, and many others. We're also kicking off our community block parties with our Playmobil program, as well as we recently launched our spring break camps, and this next year we'll have winter break camps, as well as midwinter break camps and spring break camps for families that need childcare during those breaks. Also, we're working with the Atlanta Police Foundation and helping to support at-promise centers to support at-risk youth. Some of the activities that we have going on right now this summer, we have our Camp Best Friends program, our lifeguard training and hiring, which we've done a phenomenal job. Just want to really recognize the team at DPR and HR for their collaboration. We attended over 9 different job fairs to really promote these opportunities. And I'm happy to say that we're operating 12 pools. I think when we first started this effort back in October, November, we knew that we needed to hire over 120 lifeguards. And we haven't stopped, and we won't stop hiring lifeguards because we know that there's kind of a natural attrition that occurs as the summer wears on, and maybe some people, this isn't the job that they thought it would be, or they want to go do something else, they want some time off, so they'll quit, or they'll kind of articulate out. So we want to be ready to make sure that we can continue to offer 12 pools year-round, or throughout the summer. Also, our splash pads are available for use. We have our summer recreation programs. We started football recently, we'll start football on July 1st. We have our teen program. We have a summer teen basketball league that'll begin in July at Central Park outdoors, which is a great activity for young people, and many other activities happening. This is our Camp Best Friends in focus. We have our mobile recreation program. Currently, we have over 1,900 people enrolled. That includes 1,749 youth, 162 teens. We also have 64 participants at PAL, as well as over 414 primetime seniors that are registered, totaling over 2,389 participants in our Camp Best Friends program. If you don't remember, Camp Best Friends started in 1981 as part of the murder and missing children effort to provide safe places for our young people, and it's been going on since 1981, which is a great thing to call out. We also have our, these are some of the other activations that we're working on. We have our Popsicles in the Park. Tonight's our first night. We'll be at Cook Park beginning at 5 o'clock. So if you're feeling the need for a popsicle tonight, come see us at Cook Park. We also have our Midnight Basketball Playoffs, which is tomorrow night. This is the final game at C.T. Martin Recreation Center. We'll have food box giveaways. We'll have haircuts available. The mayor will be there, and many other activities taking place as part of Midnight Basketball, as part of the playoffs. And that's done in partnership with the Mayor's Office of Constituent Services. And that'll be at C.T. Martin tomorrow night. We'll also have free food and music as well. So please check that out. And then as you can see here on the screen, we also have our Summer Teen Basketball League, and registration is ongoing through June 23rd, so please check that out if you have a young person looking to have some fun this summer. Our outdoor pools, as I mentioned earlier, we have 12 outdoor pools, and we deviated from last year, in which last year we worked with a contractor to operate our pools, and this year we're operating the pools our own. And I've had already several comments from council members as well as neighbors who have thanked us for the quality of the water has much improved, the consistency of the hours has been improved. This year we chose to close each pool 2 days a week, so some pools are closed Monday and Tuesdays, others are closed Wednesdays and Thursdays, but all 12 pools are open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to make sure that when people are off work, again, they can access the pool. And they're open from 12:30 in the afternoon until 7 o'clock at night. Again, we wanted to try and keep them open as late as possible within that 8-hour kind of window to provide service to as many people as possible. And again, our pools are free. Each of our pool has a metal detector and an off-duty police officer as well to provide a safe environment if people are concerned about that. So a lot going on, and we also have 7 City of Atlanta splash pads that are operating daily through September 1st. In addition to summer pools, we also have our indoor pools where we have different activities. And as Councilmember Boone reminded us, we had an ordinance on the books that allows us to offer free indoor swim times. So each of our indoor pools at Roselle Fan, C.T. Martin, Martin Luther King, and Washington Park all have free indoor swim times. And so we're working on a flyer to get that out and advertise that more broadly to the community for the summer. We also have senior water aerobics classes. We worked with the seniors at C.T. Martin to find a way to provide ample time so that they could do both their exercise class as well as their in-water exercise class. Because we know that if you don't move it, you lose it, right? And we want to make sure our older adults and our seniors are able to keep moving throughout the summer. One of the real critical programs that we offer is our summer food program. And this has been going on since 1975, so over 45 years we've been providing this program. This year alone, we increased our sites by 46%. Historically, we've had around 26 sites, but the team was able to pull off 38 sites this year. So it's pretty impressive what they've been able to do, and this operates June 5th through July 21st. Here's a map of where those sites are. We did not include the Camp Best Friends sites, which are also included in that number of 38, but these are the open sites where people can drop in, access needed nutrition services, and we serve roughly 3,000 meals per day for breakfast and lunch to children in Atlanta. And that usually totals around over 50,000 meals per summer. Here's some key construction updates related to the Moving Atlanta Forward and different projects that we have going on. We have West Cascade Park construction, which will wrap up this fall. We're working on 31 cameras to be installed at Rosa Birney Park. We have CCTV project coordination with many different sites, including Selena Butler Park, Historic Fourth Ward Park, Piedmont Park, as well as Chastain Park. We redid the golf cart pass at Chastain Park. If you haven't checked those out, please go out there and check those out. The CT Martin pool pack replacement, this was needed to be repaired. It was creating a really moist environment, so we were able to replace that this last year, as well as Bessie Branham HVAC replacement. So now that facility is back to being cool again. This year, we're also working on Wilson Mill Park and South Bend Park ball field lighting, so that both of those parks will have lights, as well as citywide ADA improvements. So a lot going on. Excuse me. Here's our Moving Atlanta Forward update. This is just a little kind of a summary of just all that's happening. The boxes in the red are the projects that are in pre-construction and procurement. The boxes in blue are the ones that are currently in construction. So as you can see, there's a lot going on. This represents over $32 million worth of investments. Over the 5 years, both vertical and horizontal, the program will invest over $146 million in our parks and recreation facilities. So to get $32 million out the door is really impressive. Keep in mind that many of the larger projects, including community center renovations and community center redos, those are in year 3. So that's why that will lag over that period of time. But the team's doing an impressive job of getting projects out the door and making an impact in community. Some park operations numbers. This is a request of Councilmember Hillis that we provide some data or some information around our park maintenance. So this is information that we track on an ongoing basis and report it up to the Mayor's Office of Performance and Innovation. So our targets are listed there on the right in the parentheses, and our actuals are listed there on the left related to each of those indicators. So for instance, mowing, our target is to hit that 95% of the time into the 10-day mow cycle. Currently, we're at 81%. Trimming and blowing, target is 80%, we're at 82%. So that's how that reads, and on down the line. And just to note, forestry made our monthly metric in the month of February for the first time in over 24 months. And that's with, a 40% vacancy rate. So the forestry team has been working really hard to address the different backlogs. And I think at this time, we only have 1 or 2 trees, I believe, that are in backlog. So the forestry team is doing a phenomenal job and working with contractors to address those backlog trees as well. And also keep in mind that mowing and trimming also includes December, January, and February, which because of those months, the grass doesn't grow that often. We don't trim and mow as much, so that actually reduces our metrics. So we're working on modifying how we report that out so it's more accurate. Here's our park work orders. So these are the work orders that are often submitted by council members, the public, and other individuals from the community, and myself often submitting many of these work orders as well when I'm out in the parks. The team has done a great job, 98% compliance with the arborist, 91% with our forestry and skilled services. This is a combination of playground repairs, fencing, carpentry, benches are broken, those types of repairs. They're at 81% of the target. So all those teams are working really hard to keep our parks looking great. Then we have our recreation programs. This last year, we served over 1,500 young people in our basketball program and 190 young people in our majorette dance program, 83 participants in our winter swim lessons, and we had over 400 participants in track and field and 700 in baseball. So a lot of kids having a lot of fun at our recreation programs. Lastly, just of note, just wanted to again thank each of you for helping us to hire people this last year. We had over 9 different job fairs beginning in October. We worked with APS, college campus visits, city council updates. Many of you sent this out to your constituencies through your newsletters. You hosted job fairs at your different community centers. So really thank each of you for the work that you've helped us to do to recruit and hire people. I think we're on every news station in Atlanta. Atlanta really came together and helped us hire enough people both for our lifeguard program as well as our Camp Best Friend program. So thank you to everybody that helped us hire people. We're still working on hiring people as well. So if you're interested in being an arborist or you're interested in being on our forestry team, we're still hiring. We're still hiring park maintenance workers as well as recreation professionals to support our young people at our community centers and our centers of hope. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Culler. Before I give the floor to colleagues, I do want to acknowledge we've been joined by Councilman Matt Westmoreland. And then not a question, but just a comment. Just want to give a big shout out to you and your team for just a remarkable job y'all have done, particularly when it comes to our pools. My office did a town hall event at Reverend James Orange Park in Oakland City last week, and the one thing I remarked the whole time was how crystal clear that pool was. I know there's chlorine in it, but if y'all didn't tell me, I might have drank it. But I just appreciate the work y'all have done to get our right back ship and get our pools back to where the city knows they need to be. And also just want to give a kudos to you and your team for supporting us in that town hall, with us doing a town hall event in a city park. We wanted to emphasize our park, so we invited Department of Parks and Recreation, invited Park Pride to come talk about programming and things that y'all are doing. And just to see not only the event that we had under the pavilion, but also folks playing tennis and also kids on the playground and on the splash pad, and seeing the community event that was happening with the balloon release, just all that happening at the same time, show what our city parks could be, what they are, and what y'all are building on. So I just really appreciate y'all and the work y'all have done to get us to that point. It's just really a beautiful site. So
Thank you.
with that, colleagues, any questions or comments? Council President?
Thank you. Just a couple. Commissioner, it's good to see you. Thanks for being here. Good report. Could you just remind us on the Park Ranger program, is there a long-term goal for the number is currently in the budget, or a vision for what you think that when it's fully operational should be?
Yeah, currently in the budget, the strategy that we're using right now is to work with recaptured officers. So these are officers that are post-certified, maybe they retired, they're still interested in being engaged in gainful employment, and so we bring them back as park rangers. Currently, we have one ranger, Major Singh. He used to work in Zone 2, as well as many other zones across the city. Phenomenal policeman, and he's come back to be our lead ranger, and so he's working with Mike Silva. Our hope is to grow that. We don't have a specific number we're aiming for at this time, but we're working collaboratively with APD to identify that number. We do know that it costs roughly $1.5 million, and that's either if we use recaptured officers or if we hire rangers through more intimate relationship, if you will, with APD, where there's knowledge and kind of awareness. But we're working out what that'll look like longer term. It will take a large capital investment in vehicles and equipment to make in our trails. So we're working through what that'll look like, but right now we're focused really on employing more recaptured officers and then working with Cloverleaf and private security in trouble spots. So we have stationary officers where we need it, where we have hot spots. Good example will be Grant Park, where we have an issue with the bathroom, people sleeping in the bathroom. So we've provided a person there to stop that behavior. Long term, we don't envision that person needing to be at Grant Park. But we want to stop the behavior, and then once that is remediated, then we'll be able to move that resource to a different part.
Got it. And then on the next page, on page 4, could you I think you said the total amount of back maintenance that you had estimated. Could you say that number again? Yeah,
as part of the Department of Enterprise and Asset Management, they worked with Gordian to do kind of an asset review and an inventory of all of our assets, and roughly $58 million when you look at all 99 of our buildings. That's from our warehouses to our bathrooms, all structures. Lake Allatoona we evaluated. We have about $58 million, and that's a combination of roofs, plumbing, electrical, painting, carpentry that's needed to bring those back up to more or less usable assets. And not that they aren't usable, sorry, but more that they meet kind of the life cycle needs or the intended use.
And you said that you're sort of envisioning tackling that on a 5-year basis?
Yeah, so right now we have our Moving Atlanta Forward bond dollars, and so we recently got that report, I believe, at the end of May. And so we're going through the report, we're comparing it with the Moving Atlanta Forward bond dollars to identify where's the overlap. So if it says, hey, you need to fix Reverend James Orange, well, we know we're going to be replacing Reverend James Orange Community Center. So if it says you need $1 million at Reverend James Orange, well, hey, we got that in the bag, now our number is $57 million. So we're comparing those two lists to identify what is the stated need from the asset management report, what does our Moving Atlanta Forward bond dollars cover, and then what is the delta, and then looking at other options to address that.
And just a final question, is there anything that would prevent you doing energy upgrades or those kinds of things? I'm assuming that those can all be done in these types of repairs, that we could have more efficiency, we could have weatherization, all those kinds of things as we move through that back maintenance.
Yeah, that's a high priority for us. And we're working with the Office of Resiliency. And so they've identified specific projects that we can be doing We have solar panels at CT Martin Luther King Recreation Center, I believe was either LEED Gold or Silver. The new garage that we built at Grant Park was either LEED Gold or Silver. And so sustainability is really important to us as we think about building new buildings. And I believe the city has an ordinance or some type of resolution that requires us to meet a certain sustainability threshold.
So, I would just say, if there's anything where definitions become an issue, right, where something was worded in the bond that maintenance and it doesn't, please bring it back to this council. I think there's, we want to make sure we unlock those kind of opportunities.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, President Shipman. Any other questions or comments from colleagues? All right. I think this might be the easiest quarterly report you've ever had, Commissioner.
Well, great. Well, I think just in closing, I'd just like to say thank you. I think the pools are a really good example of how we were working with a contractor and we identified a way to be efficient, right? And the team has done a phenomenal job of just getting into the dirt and kind of figuring out, okay, what do we need to do to be better? We know that we wanted to improve water quality. We know we needed some days off maintenance. And so I'm really proud of the team of what they've been able to do with the aquatic program. And I think that's what we hope to do more of in the future is analyzing the problem, finding the root cause, and then addressing it systemically as a team. So I just want to give kudos to the aquatics team. Thank you.
All right. So next up on the non-agenda, so there's a couple of things we'll do. We had a little bit of an issue with the public comment sign-in. And so I'm actually, before we go into In-Town, I'm going to give Andy Stegenberger with the Atlanta Housing Commission an opportunity to speak before the body. Colleagues, if you have not gotten this wonderfully thick piece of paper from the Housing Commission, you should have that actually in your packets. But Andy, if you want to go ahead and come up and chat with us about what y'all been working on and any other updates that you want to share, I want to give you an opportunity to do so.
Thank you, Councilmember Dozier. Committee members, again, my name is Andy Schnegenberger. I'm the chair of the City of Atlanta's Housing Commission. I did want to call attention to the recent publication that we just pushed out on eviction reduction practices that the city could adopt and pursue. We did just push that out this past week. Yes, it is hefty, but that's because there's a lot of background information that I felt it was valuable to include. The important stuff is really in the first 3 pages, intentionally so. So I'm not actually here to speak about that in detail today. I'm in the process of scheduling a time to come and dig into that a little bit deeper with you in the near future. But please do take a look at it. Again, it's just the first couple of pages. There are items in there that the city could act on within its own jurisdiction immediately. And there are, of course, some that will require some ongoing advocacy towards a change of state law, which limits the city's ability to really impact certain aspects of the landlord-tenant relationship. Happy to come back, and I will in the near future to dig into that a little bit deeper. Because it's become an issue of increasing concern amongst the housing advocacy network that I'm plugged in with, I did want to spend a couple of minutes to talk about the Building the Beloved Community Housing Trust Fund and its recent use. We pushed out recommendation, the Housing Commission did, pushed out recommendations late last year around the use of this trust fund. And so I wanted to just talk about it a little bit as a reminder, but also as a call for setting up some guidelines for its use so that it can be used appropriately and really respond to the need for which it was created. That need was for it to be a production-oriented tool. It's really a unique tool that the City of Atlanta has never had before, in that it can provide grant subsidies for projects that in particular are producing units at 50% AMI. Important tool, but it's not going to get us those very low-income units. In the past, the city has relied exclusively on the voucher system and the programs through Atlanta Housing. Those are really important. They're also increasing the work that incorporate some very low-income units in the context of their larger projects. There's also a growing amount of concern about the fact that the more the Housing Trust Fund is used for purposes other than production, we start to undermine its ability to prove itself and the importance of the fact that it is a really non-replicable tool. We degrade its ability to produce, and we create, opportunities for it to be disregarded in the future because it's not producing, right? A good example, I think, is in the recent housing opportunity bond legislation. There's a provision for its ability to be used for the Housing Trust Fund to be used to pay debt service for the Housing Opportunity Bond Program. And again, that's a really clear example of using what ought to be grant equity dollars to pay down service for a debt tool, right? So it's really competing purposes there. It's also really important for the trust fund to be acknowledged as an important tool within the city's toolkit. And again, I think I'm kind of repeating myself here, but the more we stick to using it as a production tool, the more it has the opportunity to prove its value, and the more we increase its likelihood that it will continue to be a politically viable tool, especially until the time where there's a dedicated source for it. As it is now, it continues to be an annual budgetary decision, and that puts it in danger, frankly, in my opinion. And so it just increases the urgency to stick to using it as a production tool, and also specifically to focus on producing those using it to produce those very low income units. I will leave it at that, but if y'all have any questions, I'll be happy to talk, but otherwise I think this is just public comment, so.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, so taking us back to our regularly scheduled unagenda, In-Town Collaborative, or I'm sorry, In-Town Cares. Brad Schwers.
Thank you, council members. I appreciate the opportunity to come speak before you. And I have two of my colleagues here, Princess Futrell and Laura DeGroat, who are going to speak in depth about our programs. So just as an introduction, In-Town Cares, formerly In-Town Collaborative Ministries, we changed our name between when we got the invitation to come to the committee and now. So we are In-Town Cares. We have been around as an organization since 2010. In that time, we have grown 20-fold from a rather small regional group that was working in a couple neighborhoods. Makes us unique as an organization is that we pride ourselves on walking with people, not doing things for folks, but for trying to walk with folks from where they are to where they are looking to go to. That in terms of our mission on hunger and homelessness side, from the homelessness side, we are the largest homeless outreach and navigation team in the city. We pioneered the Housing First kind of outreach model here in the city for the first time ever. We have been, over the last 5 or 6 years, the most effective team in ending chronic homelessness for people who are sleeping outside. We checked with the city for over the last year of the people experiencing unsheltered homelessness. Half of the people who've been housed were housed through our program, so we're pretty proud of that. We kind of very quickly on the food side, we operate a food program that is a in-person food pantry out of Druid Hills Presbyterian Church on Ponce. We also have a rather robust food delivery program that delivers to over 150 Atlanta residents every week. We are a very low barrier shelter, so if people are hungry, they can come to us. We're the largest low barrier shelter of our kind in the city, and we're proud of that as well. So I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Princess here, but I do want to thank this council for your service, for Councilmember Dozier and Westmoreland for serving with me on the city's strategic planning committee to end homelessness. We're looking to come out with our plan sometime in the next couple months, and we're excited for the full council's support of that plan. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Princess Futrell.
Thank you, Brad. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. Like Brad explained, I'm Princess Futrell. I'm the director of our Homeless Services Program, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about how that operates. In-Town focuses primarily on helping neighbors experiencing chronic homelessness. You'll hear me call our clients, which you guys are probably more familiar with that term, neighbors, and we've kind of adopted that term to talk about the people that we serve. We focus primarily on helping neighbors experiencing chronic homelessness. These neighbors are repeatedly unhoused and lack housing for more than a year and are dealing with a disability or substance abuse issue. We have adopted a 5-step model approach in order to help serve our neighbors and move them from street to home. Like Brad explained, we have adopted a housing first model, which initiates stability. Other personal obstacles that are addressed, they are addressed after move-in, and they're not a precondition in order to working with our agency or with our staff. Our first step is to engage. We do this through a diligent and thorough approach. We go to where our neighbors are at, where they're experiencing chronic homelessness. We work to build trust and rapport. We help them acquire documentation and move them towards permanent housing. Our staff are in the trenches. We are in the woods. We are connecting with clients. We are closing down encampments. We've closed down various encampments over the years, working with the city of Atlanta. But our staff generally meets our clients literally where they are at. The next step in our process is to enroll. Once we work on building that rapport and that trust with the clients, we enroll them onto our caseload. We are honest with our clients that being on our caseload does not guarantee housing, but it's the next step in that process in order for us to be able to help them through that process and through the various different services that they're going to need in order to be placed in housing intervention. The next step in our process is to navigate. We do that with close coordination with our partners. We can't do everything, we understand that. Like Brad mentioned, we were primarily outreach and navigation, and we have expanded some of our services just because of the need that we've seen. But we don't go out this alone. Our place in Atlanta's homeless services ecosystem is clear. We address many of the obstacles that our neighbors are facing, and we help them move from the street to their home. The next step in the process is to house. This takes some time. We do various different assessments with the clients. Based off of those assessments, they are placed on a housing queue. Depending on where they're at in that housing queue depends on the score that's given from this various assessments that we do with them. And we work with the COC and our Partners for Home in order to kind of identify various different housing interventions. Last year, we were given rapid rehousing funds in order to be a rapid rehousing provider. And so we have moved close to 100 individuals into the Motel 6 that's located on Candler Road from various different encampments. And we have worked with them to place them in their own units through the rapid rehousing program. And so we've been able to utilize that program in addition to waiting for them to come up on the housing queue in order to place them in a permanent supportive housing intervention. Within all of those steps, we work to support our clients in any way that looks like, through working with our partners, collaborating, supporting them through whatever barriers that they may be dealing with in order to maintain their housing, or in order to meet various different goals in order that they will be able to secure housing and be self-sufficient in that housing. Our staff is extremely persistent. It's recognized that we go above and beyond, and we go further into helping Atlanteans make their journey to the home, and we share a mindset of hard work, creativity, and resourcefulness amongst our supporters. Some statistics on our impact. Since 2016, we've engaged over 3,000 Atlanteans experiencing homelessness. We have enrolled and navigated 1,619 neighbors towards housing. We placed 833 neighbors in their own homes, and we provided individuals no longer experiencing homelessness with 562 aftercare services. In working with partnering agencies, we've identified a great need that we can have a deeper partnership with some of the agencies that we work with in order to provide better support services for our clients. And so we have developed private partnerships with the various different agencies above: Church of Common Ground, Central Outreach and Advocacy Center, Trans Housing Coalition, Midtown Alliance, and Clifton Sanctioned Ministries. We have a case manager that is staffed in each of these agencies to work alongside the staff within those agencies to provide better supportive services to our clients. Thank you guys so much. And I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Laura DeGroot, to talk about our food programs.
Hello, thank you guys for your time. Like Princess said, my name is Laura DeGroot, Director of Food Programs here at InTown. I'm going to tell you a little bit about our food location and what we have going on. So in addition to all of our agency working with folks outside, a lot of times those folks get hungry, so then they come to me because they would need some help. And then, so what we have right now is, well, as we can all feel right now, the food prices are high. They're squeezing lots of different assets of our budgets. That is felt across the board. That's felt from us in the room, and that's felt from the people outside that have to make hard choices about what they're spending money on from day to day. And so we focus on finding the best fresh food, the best shelf-stable food, and just the best variety that we can to any of our neighbors that are coming to see us. We're open twice a week. We don't have any kind of barrier as to what you can receive. We are what we call low barrier, meaning we're open consistently. We're open rain or shine. We also are not going to require any documentation if you come and see us. So you can see us as many times as we're open. We're not limited on anything like that. And we pride ourselves in trying to eliminate any barriers that might pop up as we go on with our programming. For example, we used to not have a delivery program, and we created the delivery program once we realized that people were having trouble accessing us. And we also really talk about client choice with our folks that come through our pantry. So we have a farmer's market table. People can select what they want. So through the produce and different partnerships that we get from farmers markets, people can pick different produce that they want. They also can pick meat and dairy, whatever it is for their groceries that they would like. And so another way that we provide client choice is through delivery, because people would like to shop however they would like to shop. And if that is delivery, then we want to be able to provide that as well. And so, yeah, like I said, here we provide one of the largest low barrier pantries in the city of Atlanta. And we don't have any type of documentation requirement, citizenship requirement, anything like that to anybody who comes and sees us. And then for that delivery program, like I mentioned, we actually have a partnership with Amazon where they provide flex drivers for us. So we are able to go and reach far more than we could on ourselves just through our volunteer power, which is a large army of volunteer power. And we could not do what we do without them. And so some really important statistics that we can highlight here is that we have over 500 unique households every single week that are coming to see us. And this is, some people are coming very consistently. They are open they are at our doors every single time we are open. And there are people that come one time and we don't see them again. And I'm getting a lot of feedback from volunteers recently that they're seeing people walk through our doors, that their feedback is to me, I'm seeing people that look just like me. And the conversation that we have then is that everybody is feeling the budget squeeze that we all are feeling in this kind of an economic climate that we have. And so then we're seeing that people are forced to make a lot of tough decisions about what they want to spend their money on. And our philosophy is that food should never have to be something that's sacrificed. And so we want people to come and get the best healthy food, the best choice of the food that they want, and they can come to our doors anytime we're open. So we have over 230 households uniquely every week getting deliveries from us as well. And this includes those people like Princess mentioned in the Motel 6 on Candler Road. So we provide anybody that is being case managed by an in-town case manager gets a bag every single week, because the folks in that hotel have a refrigerator and that's about it in their rooms. So we are trying to provide as much ready to eat food that they can eat that is healthy, that is a variety, because nobody wants to eat the same thing every single day. So we have been delivering to them since February of last year when that hotel opened. And anytime somebody moves out, they get immediately added to our delivery weekly list. So they can continue to get that food until they tell us they don't want it. And then we also, just in 2022, we provided 300,000 meals to people in the city of Atlanta. And then also we distributed 349,040 pounds of food. So we have been And keep in mind, we have a 3,000 square foot space that this is all done in. And I would argue that it's probably more about 2,000 square feet that it's usable for storage. So it is magic what we do in there. But we consistently see that we want to be able to feed anybody who walks through. We know that food security is a really big problem in the city of Atlanta. We want to make sure that we're there to advocate for people to make sure that that is not a sacrifice they have to make. And then we've got a lot of really amazing partners. So we have folks that we bring, you can see the bottom there, Recovery Consultants of Atlanta and Anise. They come and provide testing for various diseases, or they provide connections to physicians, whatever it might be that people might need. Because if they're coming to our space, we want to eliminate any additional barrier that they might have to getting any resources people might need. So if they can just come grab some groceries, grab a doctor's appointment, and somebody's going to give them a ride for free to and from, great. I want them to come and do that at our location. We connect people with food stamps through the Atlanta Community Food Bank. We also have multiple farmers markets that donate every single week to us. So we get really fresh, awesome produce. We have really great relationships with the farmers markets where they're getting feedback on what are the foods that people like. Do they know how to cook foods? They're coming in, like Concrete Jungle will come and teach people how to cook certain foods and give them recipe cards so people know what things are if they have any confusion with that. And Second Helpings has been an amazing partner where they do a lot of food rescue. They go to grocery stores and restaurants and they pick up food that can't be sold and bring it directly to us. And we probably get a quarter of our food every year from them. So it's been an amazing partner, and that's one way that we can really increase the fresh and frozen stuff that people really like. And so, yeah, I will pass back over to our Executive Director, Brad. Thank you for your time.
Well, I don't know if the community has any questions, but we're happy to field any questions you might have.
Yeah, I think we have a few. I mean, this is InTown's very first presentation before this body, so I know I get to spend a lot of time with you to work on the governing board for the Continuum Care, but with this being your first, I think maybe, I don't know if my colleague, Councilman Winston and Councilman Westmoreland, how much of a deep dive they want to do, but I'm always curious just about, KPIs and data and how y'all are seeing what's happening out through your data. Any insight, and recidivism is not the right word, but I know that with the number of people y'all are engaging, I'm sure there's some familiar faces that may come back a year or 2 years later. Any sort of insight that you can glean from what y'all have seen, whether it's from your qualitative or experiential type of work or anything that y'all see in your data? What does that typically look like for you all?
Yeah, that's a great question. The continuum of care keeps data on people who are placed into permanent housing. They keep data over a 2-year period. So the kind of housing retention rate, as Princess was talking about, all of the 5 steps that we take, that everyone takes to get people into housing, doesn't maybe mean a whole lot unless people stay in housing. So over a 2-year period of time, the COC has estimates 92 to 95% retention rate, kind of overall. In this funding environment, now we're using the American Rescue Plan, ARPA dollars, before that CARES Act funding. The kind of data systems and really all of the systems have been kind of thrown out of whack. It's been the right thing to do, but we've been utilizing federal dollars to do what other kinds of money had done. So that throws off our data collection a little bit. So the kind of real-time work of what is like the housing retention rate right now is a difficult number to get at. But overall for the COC, like 92% retention rate. Okay. You'd mentioned kind of the some of the KPIs, that we measure. One of the key ones is that, as Princess mentioned, that between enrollment, so that's the first time we meet somebody, they're usually oftentimes in the worst place they've ever been in their life, and they are likely distrustful of anybody. So we're in a trust building phase of that. And us, we can enroll them, but before they trust us, we can't do a whole lot other than build that trust. One of the key pieces that we did find, so we used to have the number of kind of touches or engagements before someone would enroll in our program used to be between 9 and 15. That was a few years ago when we didn't really have anything to give to people right away. Most of the people who are sleeping outside are aware that there are shelter options, and they just simply don't want those, which is understandable. And so we didn't have anything to offer them. Both in the CARES Act, when we rented out the Ramada, and now with the Motel 6 as an option, that's reduced the number of engagements before we can build trust with someone, before they'll enroll in our program. So that's reduced that number, which then is putting them on a faster path towards permanent housing. So that's one of those things where that's been a tool that ARPA funds have been able to provide funding for, that we would love to continue, but that's one of those budgetary constraints that we're looking to overcome moving forward.
And the piece around the number of engagements that you typically see before someone agrees to go into supportive housing, that number, the first time I heard it was alarming, and it continues to, it's a high number, 9 to 15 engagements. Do y'all have any sort of maybe demographic profile or any sort of anything in your data that tells you whether or not someone's more or less likely to be willing to enter into a supportive housing program or not? It's like older men, younger women, like what typically do y'all see with regards to that? And I do want to acknowledge we've been joined by Councilmember Keisha Shawn Waits.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Katie Farmer. I'm our Director of Development, and all the data is in my head. So on that number of engagements, when our program started out in 2016, that 9 to 15 was really a solid number that we were seeing. We now see engagements of 3 to 5 before a client is interested in working with us on average, and part of that is because of our consistency. Our team is out in the field every day. They all wear these bright blue in-town outreach t-shirts, and so folks that are living outside know you can trust the people in the blue shirts. If they say they're going to come back next Thursday with a size 12 pair of shoes for you and a snack pack, they're going to show up. And so word spreads among neighbors who've been housed to their unhoused friends, and that's been really positive. In-town's bread and butter is working with folks experiencing chronic homelessness, and so that's that definition of a year or more and a disabling condition. With that population, we tend to see lower interest in accessing shelter services, either because of a mental or physical health condition that prevents a shelter from being either a safe or accessible space for them. Folks may have an animal with them. Folks may be working a night shift, and there are no shelters in Atlanta that have a reverse schedule where you can be there during the day and work at night. And so there are many reasons why folks don't go to shelter, but we see the highest increase in numbers choosing not to be sheltered in the chronically homeless population. And so that's who we specifically focus on in town.
Okay.
Does that answer that?
That does. Thank
Okay.
you. All right, any other questions from colleagues? Councilmember Winston.
Thank you, Councilmember Dozier. I have one quick question. For us as council members, we have different scenarios where we call, various partners like PAD or Partners for Home, just, from various, scenarios where it's constituents call us. Can you really paint the picture of, when I pick up the phone and call you for a scenario where I could use you in my district?
Sorry, I just missed the last part of that.
Where I could pick up the phone and call you for a scenario in my district. Like, I just really want you to paint the picture for me of, I meet someone, they need your help. What scenario am I making that phone call to you all?
Yeah, there's kind of two main options right now. Yeah, PAD that does incredible work, kind of responding in real time. We're not a kind of response in real time operation, although I do remember a scenario where we got a call from Councilmember Faroki's office a couple years ago with a gentleman who was speaking a language that the neighbors didn't understand, who was in distress. Turns out he was speaking Swahili. One of our staff members also spoke Swahili and knew a Swahili translator in Clarkston, and we called them up, and within 5 hours got that person reconnected with their family. So we can't guarantee that we can always do that, sure. But certainly our office, we're open to phone calls. Again, the kind of standard, someone experiencing homelessness, the real-time call to PAD, and they've got a whole team that follows up in real time and then continues to work with folks, or just calling our office and speaking to one of our folks to try to get somebody out into the neighborhood. And again, like Katie and Princess mentioned, engaging them and starting to build that relationship. And then really where that goes with that is oftentimes up to that client.
Sure. Okay. And sure.
And if they're hungry, they can come to the food pantry. We're open twice a week, Tuesdays and Saturdays from 10 until 12. And they don't need to bring anything. They can just show up as they are.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions from colleagues? All right, seeing none, thank you so much. And I know we'll see you again in about 6 months, plus or minus. It's your first presentation for this body, and I know it won't be the last, but I really appreciate y'all coming down. All right, so with that, I think that means we have quorum now. So what we'll do, so I'm gonna call this meeting to order. Once again, good afternoon and welcome Councilmember Jason Dozier, Chair of the Community Development and Human Services Committee. As mentioned before, I'm joined by Councilmembers Keisha Shawn Waits, Jason Winston, and Matt Westmoreland. The first item that we have to do is to adopt the agenda. Just a reminder, we've already done public comment, we've already done presentations, so I will go ahead and move to adopt the agenda with those particular items removed. Second by Winston. Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
All
The
right,
vote is closed.
the agenda is adopted, 4 yeas, 0 nays. Next is to approve minutes. I'll move to approve the minutes. Second by Westmoreland. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
Minutes have been approved, 4 yeas, 0 nays. I do want to just remember, we've already done presentations. However, colleagues, we were emailed 2 presentations. One was alluded to by Mr. Schnegenberger with regards to the Housing Commission. You all have a copy of that in your inbox as well as a printout. It's the very thick packet that was sent. We also have a presentation from Atlanta Housing. They weren't able to present last quarter. However, they did forward a copy of their presentation to us, and that's also posted on the CDHS portion of the Atlanta City Council website. So for the public, you can find those presentations there. All right, that takes us to our first legislative item, which is communications. Mr. Rooney, thank you for your patience and thank you for joining us. If you come to the podium, and Mr. Evans, if you can sound the caption.
Item number 1 is 23C 5066, a communication from Council Member Dustin Hillis, District 9, appointing Mr. Donald Rooney to serve as a member of the Chattahoochee Brick Company Memorial Green Space and Park Board.
Mr. Rooney, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in appointment.
Is this mic picking me up now?
Yep.
Okay, good. My name is Donald Rooney, and I'm a resident of the Whittier Mill Village neighborhood in northwest Atlanta, which is adjoining the Chattahoochee Brick Company land that has been acquired by the city. Over the 35 years of residing in the Whittier Mill Village, I've authored the City Historic District nomination for that neighborhood, and also the National Register Historic District nomination for Whittier Mill. And over the course of time, I've also followed the history of the Chattahoochee Brick Company site. I actually watched bricks being made there when it was owned by General Shale, and learned about its dark history when convict leasing occurred there for a period of 25 years. In 2022, I authored the Places in Peril nomination, submitted that to the Georgia Trust for Historic Preservation for the Chattahoochee Brick Company property, and that nomination was successful. It led to state recognition of the property becoming a rail phenol transfer facility. Norfolk Southern away. News is that the city now owns 75 acres that has many important stories to tell. In my public career, I've devoted 35 years in public history at the Atlanta Historical Society, where I worked in the library and archives, and also headed the museum exhibits department for about 30 years. So I'm versed in telling stories, creating exhibits, And I believe that a meaningful and authentic and contemplative and maybe even provocative exhibit can be created on the Chattahoochee Brick Company land. I see that land as a canvas in which, or a gallery in which an exhibit can be created to tell the many stories associated not only with that property's natural environment, but the Native American and more recently the industrial history that is so important having occurred on that site. And I think the memorial, I've worked with the neighborhood and the descendants of Chattahoochee Brick. I think there's a really strong team of people out there that will work together to see that land treated in a proper way.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from colleagues?
Second.
Motion to approve by Westmoreland, second by Winston. Please open the vote.
Vote is open. The vote is closed.
The motion carries 4 yeas, 0 nays. Thank you, Mr. Rooney, for your service to the city of Atlanta. All right, that concludes communications. We have no ordinances for first reading. That takes us to ordinances for second reading. Colleagues, if you will indulge me, items 2, 5, and 6, I would like to take as a block. Either they have companion legislation that needs to move through the process, or there's some additional administrative work associated with these items. They're all CDP amendments, and so I would like to take those as a block. If we could, Mr. Evans, please sound the captions, and then we'll take action.
Item number 2 is 23-0-1249, CDP 2305, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee to amend the land use element of the 2021 Atlanta Comprehensive Development Plan so as to redesignate property located at 1508, 1512, 1516, 1522, and 1526 Hardy Street Northeast from the low-density residential land use designation to the medium-density residential land use designation and for other purposes. Item number 5 is 23-0-1252, CDP 2309, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee to amend the land use element of the 2021 Atlanta Comprehensive Development Plan so as to redesignate property located at 1692 Springer Street Northwest and 0 DeFore Avenue Northwest rear from the single-family residential and industrial land use designations to the low-density commercial land use designation and for other purposes. Item number 6, 23-0-1253, CDP 2310, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee to amend the land use element of the 2021 Atlanta Comprehensive Development Plan so as to redesignate property located at 1855 DeLoe Drive Southwest from the single-family residential land use designation to the low-density residential land use designation and for other purposes.
Thank you. Colleagues, as mentioned before, there's some additional items or additional administrative work associated with these items. I would like to move to hold. Second by Winston. Any discussion? Seeing none, please open the vote.
Vote is open.
All right, these items are held, 4 yeas, 0 nays. That takes us to item number 3. Colleagues, likewise, if you will indulge me, I'd like to take items 3 and 4 as a block. Seeing no issues, please sound those captions.
Item number 3, 23-0-1250, CDP 2306, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee to amend the land use element of the 2021 Comprehensive Development Plan so as to redesignate property located at 342 Paynes Avenue Northwest from the single-family residential land use designation to the mixed-use land use designation and for other purposes. Item number 4, 23-0-1251, CDP 2307, an ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee to amend the land use element of the 2021 Atlanta Comprehensive Development Plan so as to redesignate property located at 1121 Tucker Avenue Southwest from the low-density residential 0 to 8 units per acre land use designation to the low-density commercial land use designation and for other purposes.
Colleagues, both of these items were both That's the word I'm looking for. There was concurrence from both city staff as well as the NPU in support of these items. I would like to go ahead and move to approve. They had their public hearing last week, but I'd like to move to approve those items since there's concurrence in both from staff and from the NPU. Second by Winston. Any discussion? Seeing none, please open the vote.
The vote is open, and the vote is closed.
Items favorable, 4 yeas, 0 nays. That takes us to item number 7. Please sound the caption.
23-0-1285, an ordinance by Community Development and Human Services Committee to waive the source selection and payment provisions contained in the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances, Article 10, Procurement and Real Estate Code, including but not limited to Section 2-1547, and to authorize the mayor or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to enter into a lease agreement with Cabbagetown Initiative Community Development Corporation for a term of 3 years with 2 additional 1-year renewal options on behalf of the Department of Parks and Recreation and for other purposes.
Deputy Commissioner Voss, good to see you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, and members of council. Doug Voss, Department of Parks and Recreation. This ordinance authorizes the city to enter a lease with the Cabbagetown Initiative for a property located at 177 Astoria Street in Cabbagetown. Cabbagetown Initiative is a nonprofit organization that's been around for many years that operates basically to enhance the quality of life in the Cabbagetown community, and they empower the community to work collectively, both in the park and in the center. Over the years, they've raised over $5 million towards the park and the center, and they've used the space for both community programming and for rental space. These are the city would not otherwise be able to feel like this is a strong, a good partnership. They desire to use the offices, the large meeting room space and a basement that they use for programming, and they will be responsible for all custodial work, maintenance, and minor repairs to the building. It's a 3-year agreement with 2 1-year terms. Happy to answer any questions about it.
Any questions or comments from the body? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and move approval. Second by Waits. Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
The item is favorable, 4 yeas, 0 nays. Thank you, Deputy Commissioner. All right, that takes us to item number 8.
23-0-1298, an ordinance by Councilmember Mary Norwood to name 473 Woodward Way Northwest Betty Young Park to waive certain provisions of Section 138-8 and 2-2 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances and for other purposes.
Councilmember Norwood, good to see you.
Yes, thank you very much. This is a little remnant that is down on Peachtree Creek, right near where the west side Beltline is coming, northwest Beltline is coming through, where the path is, where Bobby Jones Golf Course is, where Memorial Park is. It was a residence and of decree. I was down here when we first did it, but the whole consent decree issue. So it is going to be in perpetuity a natural area. There will not be any buildings. Nothing will happen to it. So what's going on is the children of this lady who died in 2013 are older, and they want to, at their own expense, working with the Parks Department, upgrade it, have benches, and turn it into a little triangle park like we've seen in other parts of the city. And so they're ready to go with that. The Parks Department has told me who the family would work with to do the design. So where we are is this ordinance is saying that as soon as we get the MOU, which is the Parks Department accepting the transfer of land from Watershed, then this ordinance would be in effect. So this is saying on the second page, as if that has happened. So my request to you, again, I've got an older family, a daughter who's not in good health. I'd like to get this moved, approved on condition for Monday that the MOU comes through. I know the Law Department, Watershed, and Parks are working on it. Now, there are several waivers in this because it's a council member's legislation, and Amber Robinson very graciously has given you a one sheet explaining each of those. They're just process, there's nothing and so she wanted to go ahead, I asked her, and she was great, to give you that so we didn't have to discuss each one of those on camera, but we certainly can, and she certainly will be delighted to. So that is my request, that it go to full council on condition.
Thank you. And Councilmember Norwood, just to clarify, I remember, was it 2 weeks ago, we had a resolution that was just related to the same potential park space, and that was adopted by this body, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, just wanted to clarify for the body.
This takes us one step closer to getting this done.
Got it. So any questions or comments from colleagues? So in case that was not heard, there's a motion to approve on substitute or on condition, thank you, that we receive the MOU information by the next city council meeting next Tuesday. Second by Waits. Please open the vote.
Vote is open.
All right, the item is favorable on condition. 4 yeas, 0 nays. Thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you. Thank you all.
All right, that takes us to item number 9. Actually, we have one more ordinance for second read. Item number 9.
Item number 9 is 23-01309, an ordinance by council members Michael Julian Bond, Jason Winston, Amir Faroki, Byron D. Amos, Jason Dozier, Liliana Bakhtiari, Alex Juan, Dustin Hillis, Andrea L. Boone, Marcy Collier Overstreet, Antonio Lewis, Matt Westmoreland, and Keisha Shawn Waits to establish a program for assistance with tree removal and pruning for eligible senior citizen homeowners in the city of Atlanta and for other purposes.
Thank you, colleagues. With this particular item, I know there's still some conversations happening with the author and the administration. I was made aware that there was some additional work that needed to happen with this legislation. So there's a motion on the floor by Westmoreland to hold, second by Winston. Any discussion? Seeing none, please open the vote.
Vote is open. The vote is closed.
All right, the item is held, 4 yeas, 0 nays. That concludes ordinances for second reading. That takes us to resolutions. Item number 10, please sound the caption.
Item number 10, 23-R3688, a resolution by council members Dustin Hillis and Andrea L. Boone to expand the boundaries of the Fulton Industrial Community Improvement District as authorized by the General Assembly of the State of Georgia in the Fulton County Community Improvement District Act and for other purposes.
All right, colleagues, I spoke with the author before this meeting, and this is just something that happens pretty regularly with regards to these boundary changes. And so I'll go ahead and move to approve. Second by Winston. Any discussion? See none, please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
The item is favorable, 4 yeas, 0 nays. All right, next item.
Item number 11, 23-R3689, a resolution by council members Andrea L. Boone, Michael Julian Bond, and Matt Westmoreland authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute the appropriate documents to accept an in-kind donation of individual food boxes from the Atlanta Community Food Bank with a collective value of $30,000.00 for the purpose of distributing said food boxes to eligible persons to be determined by the city and for other purposes.
There's a motion for approval by Westmoreland. Councilmember Winston has seconded. Any discussion? Any questions? Seeing none, please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
The item is favorable, 4 yeas, 0 nays. All right, that takes us to item number 12. Actually, colleagues, all 1, 2, 3, 4 of these items deal with supporting summer activities to support youth. So I would actually like to take all those as a block. Any questions or comments or concerns about that? All right, we can take those as a block. Please sound those captions.
Item number 12, 23-R3690, a resolution by council members Andrea L. Boone, Dustin Hillis, Michael Julian Bond, and Matt Westmoreland authorizing the city of Atlanta to donate a total amount not to exceed $10,000.00 to the Unity Network and Counseling Center pursuant to Section 6-306 of the City of Atlanta's Charter to support summer activities for local youth, authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into any necessary agreements to effectuate the donation, and authorize the chief financial officer to designate or his designee to make all payments from the accounts listed herein and for other purposes. Item number 13, 23R3691, a resolution by council members Andrea L. Boone, Dustin Hillis, and Matt Westmoreland authorizing the City of Atlanta to donate a total amount not to exceed $10,000.00 to the Poverty to Prosperity PS Inc. pursuant to Section 6-306 of the City of Atlanta's Charter to support summer activities for local youth, authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into any necessary agreements to effectuate the donation, and authorize the chief financial officer or his designee to make all payments from the accounts listed herein and for other purposes. Item number 14, 23R3692, a resolution by council members Andrea L. Boone, Dustin Hillis, and Matt Westmoreland authorizing the City of Atlanta to donate a total amount not to exceed $10,000.00 to the Jackson Memorial Baptist Church pursuant to Section 6-306 of the City of Atlanta's Charter to the Church Food Pantry Ministry, authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into any necessary agreements to effectuate the donation, to authorize the chief financial officer or his designee to make all payments from the accounts listed herein and for other purposes. And item number 15, 23R3693, a resolution by council members Andrea L. Boone, Dustin Hillis, and Matt Westmoreland authorizing the City of Atlanta to donate a total amount not to exceed $10,000.00 to the Atlanta Barber Institute Foundation, Inc., pursuant to Section 6-306 of the City of Atlanta's Charter to support summer activities for at-risk youth, authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into any necessary agreements to effectuate the donation, and authorize the chief financial officer or his designee to make all payments from the accounts listed herein and for other purposes.
Thank you. So, colleagues, there's a motion to approve by Westmoreland. We have been joined by Council Member Liliana Bakhtiari, who has seconded that motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed.
All right, those items are favorable, 5 yeas, 0 nays. That takes us to item number 16. Please sound a caption.
Item 16, 23R3744, a resolution by Community Development Human Services authorizing the mayor on behalf of the Department of Parks and Recreation to accept a donation of youth services and funding in the amount of $1,500.00 from Health Empowers, Inc., which will be used to provide after-school programming and supplies to encourage youth to partake in healthy lifestyles at 3 Center of Hope facilities located at Roselle Fan Recreation Center, Dunbar Recreation Center, and Grove Park Recreation Center, and for other purposes. Members, an amendment has been emailed to all of you that adds the exhibit that's mentioned in the text.
So there's already a motion to amend by Westmoreland and a second by Bakhtiari. We can go ahead and open the vote.
The vote is open. And the vote is closed.
Motion to amend carries 5 yeas, 0 nays. There's a motion to approve as amended by Westmoreland, second by Bakhtiari. Any discussion, any questions? All right.
I do have one.
Councilmember Bakhtiari.
Why do they have to come to us for $1,500?
Well, I think they would appreciate, they just get the opportunity to come before you with the opportunity to give us a donation, so.
No,
It's a
always
good
happy to give you a
program, and I think
donation.
it's good,
I
yeah.
just, sorry I had to come before us for $1,500.
Not a problem. I'm glad they're here. I will say it's neat. This program actually provides gardening tools and cooking instruction and other healthy lifestyles. So it's a neat program.
Well, then I'm grateful for that since I learned more about it, so thank you.
All right, please open the vote.
The vote is open. Vote is closed.
And item is favorable as amended, 5 yeas, 0 nays. That concludes our resolutions. We have no dual refer items. However, we do have a few items that we need to pull off of held. Item number 31 is a CDP amendment. If you can, please sound the caption.
Item number 31, 22-0-1849, CDP 2236, a substitute ordinance by Community Development Human Services Committee to amend the land use element of the 2021 Atlanta Comprehensive Development Plan so as to redesignate property located at 2535 Glenwood Avenue from the single-family residential land use designation to the low-density residential land use designation and for other purposes.
All right, so this item, there's a motion actually on the table to file from Councilmember Bakhtiari, second by Westmoreland. Any discussion? Seeing none, please open the vote.
The vote is open.
All right, the item is filed, 5 yeas, 0 nays. The next item that we're moving off of held, item number 36, ordinance 23-0-1213. Please sign the caption.
An ordinance by Councilmember Mary Norwood to rename Haynes Manor Park to Sam T. Roberts Memorial Park, to waive certain provisions of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances relating to the dedication of public places within the City of Atlanta, which are not applicable where a dedication is initiated by the City of Atlanta and for other purposes.
All right, before we accept a motion, Deputy Commissioner Voss, did you want to speak to this at all? Anything to add to this? Okay, there's a motion to approve by Westmoreland, second by Bakhtiari. Any discussion? See none, please open the vote.
Vote is open.
All right, motion carries, 5 yeas, 0 nays. That takes us to item number 37, Resolution 23R3517. Please sound the caption.
There's a substitute in your packet. Would you like to bring that forward? I'll read the caption in case it's changed.
Yes, please. Motion to bring forth the substitute by Westmoreland, second by Bakhtiari. Please open the vote.
Vote is open. And the vote is closed.
The motion to bring forth the substitute carries, 5 yeas, 0 nays. Deputy Commissioner Voss.
May I read that caption?
Thank you.
Caption as substituted reads, a resolution by Community Development, substitute resolution by Community Development Human Services Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to accept an improved land donation from Empire Communities, approximately 1.086 aggregate acres of real property at 80 and 84 Flat Shoals Avenue Southeast to the Department of Parks and Recreation of improvements valued at approximately $3,140,000.00, which includes site work, landscape, and hardscape improvements to expand Lang Carson Park.
Deputy Commissioner.
Got it. Doug Voss, Department of Parks and Recreation. This donation expands and improves Lang Carson Park. We've been working on this for a number of years. Empire Communities is a developer. They have donated these 4 parcels that we had to wait. We came before you before, but had to hold it to wait for the appraisal. It came back at $3.4 million for the parcels. So this is a good donation to the city. The land is all improved. It comes with sidewalks, benches, swing benches, a community garden, irrigation, and a granite sign, I believe. So we are very excited. They've worked very closely with the community. This has been a great cooperative effort between the Parks Department, Empire, the council member, and the community, and we're very excited to see this happen. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
No, before I make my motion, I want to say first, I really appreciate the insertion of the word real property. Just to clarify that it's not fake, I do appreciate the enunciation on that point being driven home. But no, Mr. You have done such an extraordinary job with the neighborhood on this, and I also want to give a really big shout out to RCIL and the Reynoldstown neighborhood for this, and thank Empire. This has been many years in the making, and I'm really glad that we can finally move on this and get it locked in, and also very, very thankful to you all that you turned a major crane and a steel factory, which is what this property was before, into, and managed to keep that and turn it into swings for the neighborhood and repurpose it. They could not be more happy about that. So appreciate all the work that y'all have done, and I move to approve.
Second. I'll go ahead and second.
Thank you so much for your kind motion and generosity.
Please open the vote.
The vote is open.
I'll go ahead and second.
The vote is closed.
The item is favorable on substitute, 4 yeas, 0 nays. All right, we have one more item, item number 42, Resolution 23R3625. Please sound the caption.
23R3625, a resolution by Community Development Human Services Committee to transmit the 2024 to 2028 capital improvements element, which includes capital improvements that the city intends to fund in whole or in part with development impact fees, to the Georgia Department of Community Affairs and the Atlanta Regional Commission in compliance with the requirements of the Georgia Development Impact Fee Act and for other purposes. There's a amendment in your packet which updates the Exhibit A.
There's a motion to amend by Bakhtiari, second by Dozier. Please open the vote.
Vote is open. The vote is closed.
The item is amended, 4 yeas, 0 nays. We have Ms. Tiffany Coe with Department of City Planning. Good to see you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tiffany Cope, Business Manager with the Department of City Planning. The paper before you today authorizes the transmission of the 2024-2028 capital improvements element. In order for the city to assess impact fees, we are required to update and adopt the CIE each year before October 31st. However, prior to adoption, we must first transmit the CIE to both the Atlanta Regional Commission and the Georgia Department of Community Affairs for their review and approval. So today we're before you seeking authorization to send the report to those agencies for their review.
Any questions or comments? I'll go ahead and move to approve as amended. Second by Bakhtiari. Any discussion? Seeing none, please open the vote.
Vote is open. The vote is closed.
The item is favorable as amended, 4 yeas, 0 nays. That concludes items held. We have no walk-in legislation. That takes us to general remarks. Any general remarks from my colleagues? Seeing none, I will go ahead and thank you so much. Just a reminder that with next Monday being the Juneteenth holiday, our next city council meeting will actually be next Tuesday, 1:00 p.m. in the Marvin Harrington City Council chambers. Councilmember Waits and then Councilmember Bakhtiari.
Sure. Just wanted to, and I think Councilmember Andrea Boone mentioned this on yesterday during the public safety meeting, but the former councilman, Derek Bozeman, lost his brother in a tragic car accident. So just wanted to lift up that family. He served on this committee and chaired this committee as well. Thank you.
Councilmember Bakhtiari.
Just a reminder to look into business associations in your neighborhoods if you have one. Juneteenth should not be the only day Black businesses are celebrated, but especially pay attention to those that are highlighted on this coming Monday. And then always shop Black and shop local.
Thank you. All right, with that being said, we are adjourned.